One life for everybody.
Muhammad wa ala Muhammad salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala
Muhammad. Please recite Surah Fatiha for marhum, for the marhum of all of the mu'minin mu'minat. As we recite Fatiha, we do for kul mu'minin mu'minat, but it's important that we reflect and remember our marhum. I want to start by remembering my father, Marhum Tahir Mu'min. We started this Jamaat, and mashallah, we have plenty of people following in his legacy to keep it going. Lots of love for them. Also, for my dear friend, Danish Shah, for Habib Karmali, for my grandmother, Sakina Mu'min, Zainab Mu'min, Zainab Ali, for the Murmur Sahawala family, Heather Charnia, the Charnia and the Raza family, the Murmur of the Joseph family, Murmur of the Qasim Ali family, the Zahid family. There's a lot of families that help us continue to have the strength to do these majalis and Hasina Bojani, she's a long-standing member of our community as well. Please remember your marhum and ask that on behalf of your marhum, Allah give the, I know I usually talk about Allah a little bit after this. I said this in the intro, but think about this, right? I talk about the generosity of Allah. So when you recite the, first of all, I'll talk about how about this. I'll talk about the importance of salawat later because that's going to take a little bit longer. So to get into that here would take up half the time. But salawat is a lot of salawat that you do, right? Then you recite Surah Hum. When you recite Surah Al-Hum, Surah Fatiha, every Surah Fatiha you recite, Allah kabuls one of your, as if you recited the entire Quran, right? And then we recite Surah Ikhlas 3 times, right? Surah Ikhlas 3 times, and we recite that. Allah says that you get the, by a quote from Imam Jafar Sadiq, you get the sawab of reciting the whole Quran, right? So now you get the sawab of reciting 2 Qurans, right? And now, not only that, plus the sawab from reciting the sawab, all right? So you get the sawab from reciting 2 Qurans, and then you send the sawab to your marhum. So they get sawab for it, and you get sawab for them getting sawab for it. And now, for example, I said, remember your marhum and send it on their behalf. So now think about the generosity, not the generosity of Allah, but how big his kingdom might be. Is he gives you the sawab of reciting 2 Qurans, right? He gives you this, whoever you think about when you're reciting the Fatiha, sawab for reciting 2 Qurans, all of them, right? And then he gives you sawab for thinking about them, right? For the act of that, right? And then for remembering Allah's greatness that he can send blessings to the marhum, you get sawab for that. And then if you say, give this sawab on behalf of my marhum to all kul mu'minin mu'minat, you get the sawab for all the kul mu'minin mu'minat getting sawab, and your marhum gets the sawab for all the kul mu'minin mu'minat getting the same sawab. You see, Allah, you ask me for $1, I'll give you $1. At some point, I might stop giving you $1. Here, what more do you want? What more do you want? And no matter how much he gives, that's how great his kingdom is. You see what I'm saying? So if you think that asking dua, you want to ask for yourself, you should ask for everyone else before you. You should never want something for yourself. You don't want for everyone else, right? Allah's kingdom isn't limited. You can have yours and everyone can have theirs. So I know that's a long-winded, let's recite a Surah Fatiha, but I want everyone to understand the importance when you remember our marhum and when we send Fatiha, and if you do it properly, like you can just do it quickly, right? But if you remember the importance of Fatiha, what you're doing, who's getting the blessing, and even more important is who's giving the blessing. Think about the blessing that are showered, right? So now let's recite the Surah Fatiha. What's the name of your marhum? Your marhum.
Last that. Oh, grandparents?
Zaidi. And for the Zaidi family marhum. Okay, so think about your marhum. Keep the Zaidi family marhum, and let's do the Surah Fatiha. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Malik yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد. Say Allah is one. Allah is Samad, Allah is original, Allah is the OG. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. He does not beget, he does not have children, nor is he begotten, nor does he have any parents. He's not created from anything. Wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. And there's nothing like him. Nothing like him. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Send the blessing on Prophet Muhammad and the family of Prophet Muhammad. We always ask to do this later on in the majlis, but at this time, Ya Allah, don't just send them blessings. Make it rain blessings. You're always sending blessings, make them rain even more. So many more blessings on Prophet Muhammad, on the perfect individuals that sacrifice for your truth, right? Rain it so much more blessings on them that they ask, why are there so much more blessings raining on us? And they'll tell you that these blessings are on behalf of the Jamaat. They're on behalf of these individuals that are requesting it and they love you so much. And when they accept the blessings and acknowledge to you that we're their lovers, then look at us as the lovers of those whom you love. And then at that moment, please answer all of our prayers and forgive all of our sins. I want to offer condolences to everyone who's watching, but first of all to Bibi Fatima Tazara alayhi salam, and to our living Imam Mary Cyrus. This is the fourth night of Muharram, and your great-great-grandfather, your son Hussein, and Imam, your great-great-grandfather, Imam Hussein, and his followers were suffering and knew the inevitability of their journey, yet they spent their days in prayer and their nights in prayer. Ya Allah, please send blessings again on Prophet and the family of Prophet, and keep condolences to you. Yes, we're going to get started soon, but let's take one more moment to ask Allah to purify our intentions. Ya Allah, whatever our intentions were for attending, for volunteering, for watching online, accidentally stumbled upon it, right? Whatever intention we have for moving forward with our Azadari for tonight, we want you to intensify our intentions and purify them. So we have the best and the most focused intention, so we could get not just the biggest benefit out of these nights, not just so these nights could change our lives, but so we could pay the proper respect to those who you love, Allah. That's what we're trying to do. So the dua we're asking is not a bad one, Ya Allah. Please just purify our intention. So when we do remembrance of those who you love, we do it in the best way that pleases you and that gives them the respect they deserve. We have a very nice program planned tonight. We're going to start with obviously the recitation of the Hadith Qissa. Please, this is the best story ever told. It was told by the best narrator ever told. Bibi Fatima Tazara herself narrated the story. It's in the words of Bibi Fatima Tazara, the Lady of Light. So every single letter, every single part of every single letter is Roshni, is light for us. And at the end of it, as Anthony says, that whoever our followers have achieved success in this world and in the hereafter just by listening to that story. So take some time to listen to it. Brother Dosai, I always say, and I want you to remember this: when you hear du'as written by our moms, and when you hear stories like Hadith Qissa recited by lovers of the Ahlul Bayt, they just feel different, right? And so listen to this lover of the Ahlul Bayt to tell the story of Hadith Qissa. Wow.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari an Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salamu bint Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa salama qalat samiyatu Fatimata annaha qalat dakhala alayya abi Rasulullah fi bazil ayame faqala assalamu alayka ya Fatimatu فقلت عليك السلام وقال إني أجد في بدني ضعفا فقلت له أوزرك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف فقال يا فاطمة ائتني بالكساء اليمني فغاتيني به فأتيته به وسرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وعلى فما كانت إلى ساعتان وإذا بي ولدي الحسن قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه فقلت وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وسمرات فؤادي فقال يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله فقلت نعم إن جداك تحت الكساء فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله أتأذن لئن أدخل معك تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوزي قد أذنت لك فدخل معه تحت الكساء اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد فيما كانت إلى ساعتين وإذا بي ولدي الحسين قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه فقلت وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وسمرة فؤادي فقال لي يا أمه إني أشهم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رحمة جدي رسول الله فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه السلام عليك يا من كتا راهل له أتزان لي أن أدخل ما أقوم تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شفاء أمتي قد أذنت لك فدخل ما هما تحت الكساء اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك راحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن أمي رسول الله فقلت نعم ها هو ما الولد يأتيك تحت الكساء فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله أتزان لأن أكون معكم تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا أخي ويا وسي وخليفتي وصحب لواي قد أذنت لك فدخل علي تحت الكساء اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله أتأذن لأن أكون معكم تحت الكساء وقال وعليك السلام يا بنت ويا بزت قد أذنت لك في دخلت تحت الكساء اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد فلمك تملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرفي الكساء وأومى بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إني هؤلاء أهل بيتي وكهساتي وعاماتي لحمي ودمهم دمي يلموني ما يلمهم ويحزنوني ما يحزنهم أن حرب لمن حربهم وسلم لمن سلامهم وعدو لمن أداهم ومهيب لمن أباهم إنهم مني وأنا منهم فجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورزوانك علي وعليهم وأذهب عنهم الرزا وتطهيرهم تطهيرا فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان سماواتي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مديهية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مزيدة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرين يجري ولا فلك يسري إلى في مهابته هو الله الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومدين الرسالة هم فاطمة وأبوها وبلاه وبنوها اللهم صل على محمد فقال جبرائيل يا ربي أتزانوا لين أهبط إلى الأرض لا أكون معهم سادسا فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك فهبط الآمن جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله علي ألا يكرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وإزاتي وجلالي إنسي ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مديهية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مزية ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلى لأجلكم ومحبتكم وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فاعتذروا لي يا رسول الله فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا أمين وهي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك فدخل جبرائيل معا تحت الكساء اللهم
صل على محمد
فقال أبي إن الله قد أويها عليكم يقول إنما يريد الله لا يذهب عنكم الرجس أهل بيت ويطهركم تطهيرا فقال علي Ya Rasulullah, akhbirni ma lijulusina haza tahta al-kisai min al-fazli inda Allah. Faqala an-nabiyyu wallazi basni bil-haqqi nabiyyun واستفاني بالرسالة نجم ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محفل أهل الأرض وفيه جموع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلى ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وهفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أين يتفرق. فقال عليه السلام إذن والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال النبي ثانيا يا علي والذي بساني بالحق نبيا واستفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محافل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جموع من شيعتنا ومرهبين وفيهم مهموم إلى وفرج الله هماه ولا مغموم إلى وخشف الله غماه ولا طالب حاجة إلا وكاز له حاجته. فقال علي عليه السلام إذن والله فزنا وسوئدنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسوئدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Another last salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Up next, we have Sister Asya, which she's going to be doing a Marcia/poem. So please let's go ahead and bring her up with a loud salawat. Muhammad salawat.
Allahumma
صلى الله محمد وعلى محمد وجه فرجه. You are an example of someone in Islam who always loved and stood by the Imam. You are the Queen of Karbala. Bibi Zainab is your name. You died in Damascus while seeing your brother Hussein. You saved Imamat, you saved Islam, and you brought us our fourth Imam. You've seen so much, been through so much, and heard even more. From losing your mother to your unborn baby brother to watching them kill your sons, you stayed strong and carry the word of Islam from Makkah to Medina to California today. We are here for you, Bibi Zainab alayhi salam. We are finishing your mission of spreading Islam. Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم
محمد وآل محمد صلوات اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد وجل فرجہ آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ ہر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ مہمان کو ہمارے مہمان کو ہمارے خیمے میں لے کے آؤ ہر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ خود یاد ہوگا اس کو پانی تھا اس نے روکا خوددار وہ بہت ہے شرمندہ ہم سے ہوگا پیاسے ہیں سارے بچے اس کو نہ یہ بتاؤ ہر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ دیکھو وہ چل رہا ہے میدان میں لڑکھڑا کر گرنے سے پہلے اکبر اس کو سنبھالو جا کر اے میرے شاہزادے جلدی قدم بڑھاؤ ہر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ عباس سے اپنے دل سے ہر بات صاف کر دو ماں فاطمہ کے صدقے حر کو معاف کر دو جا کر علم کے اس کو سائے میں لے کے آؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ بیٹا حسین قیدی کیسے کسی کو دیکھے میری طرف سے کھولو تم اس کے ہاتھ جا کے بابا خفا نہیں ہے جا کر اسے بتاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ تم سے بھی پہلے مرنے جائے گا اس کا بیٹا جی بھر کے دیکھ لے وہ اپنے پسر کا چہرہ ارے کم وقت رہ گیا ہے جا کر اسے بتاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ تھا حشر یہ کریمی سب یاد ہی رکھیں گے مہمان کا پسینہ خود صاف ہم کریں گے فضا ہماری ماں کا رومال لے کے آؤ
ہرا رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ جس دم سنی علی کی بیٹی نے یہ صدائیں آنسو بہا کے اس نے دینے لگی دعائیں بچوں سے پھر یہ بولی حر کو گلے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ ماں فاطمہ کے لب پر اس کے لیے دعا ہے غربت میں اس نے ہم پر احسان کر دیا ہے حر کے غلام کو بھی عزت سے لے کر آؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ سجاد کیا بیاں ہو کہتی تھی بنت زہرا بھائی کی جان بچانے ایک اور حبیب آیا میرا سلام فضا پہنچا کے اس کو آؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ مہمان کو ہمارے خیمے میں لے کے آؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ محمد وال محمد صلوات اللہ
محمد وجہ
Do say
to the camera.
my speech study?
Say Muhammad one first.
Muhammad Muhammad Salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد.
What's your first?
Bismillah. The kids were so thirsty in Kabbalah. They still fought with the Imam, and I'm gonna fight with the Imam to Salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد.
Now they said we.
يا علي
Ya Ali. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa jufar. Please recite Surah Fatiha for Kullu Mu'min and Mu'minat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وسلم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وجه فرجهم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وجه فرجهم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وجه فرجهم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وجه فرجهم Alhamdulillah, all praise be to Allah. Ya Allah, we praise you. We praise you ignorantly, but we praise you passionately. Ya Allah, we have no idea where to even begin to understand you. So we ponder you and we think about you. And when it makes no sense, sometimes we think that we have no idea what's going on in the world and you send us guidance because you are the true guide and you are the light And you make it easy for us to find the true path because you know that that's what we're searching for. Ya Allah, you gave us logic, you gave us intellect, you gave us the passion to ask questions, and you provide us with all the answers. Ya Allah, there's no freedom except for the freedom that you gave. The freedom exists because of your generosity and because of your mercy. Without both of those components, we would not have true freedom. You need nothing from us, and that is why we are free to do what we want. We're free to act like idiots and turn away from the recommendations of what you tell us because we're arrogant and because we think there's better things to do. Yeah, you still feed us, you still clothe us, you still give us families, you still give us friends. Not all of us, right? But we have many things that we love in this world because of you. Even when we sin, it doesn't matter to you. So you give us the choice to continue to have the great things in life that you created for us. And when we make a mistake and are smart enough for a second to realize what we did, you forgive us. I know I've done things I probably can never forgive myself for, but I know you're not only the oft forgiving, but you're the most forgiving. So I have no doubt that my sins, even though I don't deserve it, are being forgiven. Ya Allah, you are one. Qul huwallahu ahad. Say Allah is one. Muhammad wa ala Muhammad salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I usually like to go off on talking about the oneness of Allah after I drop that line, right? But I promised that I wanted to talk about the value of salawat before. And so I'm going to get into that. And Tawheed fits into what we've been talking about. We've been talking about the Usul-e-Din, Tawheed, Adl, Nabuwwat, Imamat, Qiyamat, right? We've been talking about Imamat and wondering if we can explain this topic to somebody. I seriously sat here thinking I've wasted everyone's time if nobody learns anything about Imamat. And, we have this new discussion that we've been doing, exploring the importance of Imamat. And I don't know if you noticed, but a 4-year-old boy came and talked about Imamat today. He's been listening and learning, and mashallah, this is what the beautiful thing about knowledge is the more knowledge you give, the more it grows, right? And so now the knowledge has grown about our Imam and our Imamat, and it's because of all of us here discussing the topic. Muhammad wa ala Muhammad sallallahu Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wajhu farjun. See, Prophet Muhammad, he did a lot of cool things, right? He was the love of Allah, right? When you love someone, you give them special preference, right? He said, made it no joke, I love Muhammad, right? I use the Habibullah, right? He made no question of it. You see, Allah's perfection is reflected by the creation of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wajhu farjun. It's simple. See, Allah needs no plan. Allah needs no practice, right? And if the very first creation that Allah did was not his most perfect creation, then some people could sit there and say that Allah needed practice, right? He created this, he created that, and then he created Prophet Muhammad, right? But he created Prophet Muhammad before he created anything, even before he created time, right? But when he created the light of Prophet Muhammad, his very first creation, his perfect creation, something else was created. I've been saying this, right? Think about this. When he created Prophet Muhammad, he also created something else. What else did he create? Before he created, the second he created, right? He created time. Who said that? See, he created time, right? How did he create time? Not necessarily, obviously Allah knows everything, but there was only Allah and there was nothing, right? And once Allah created something, then time existed. There was a time existed before Prophet Muhammad's light existed, right? So at the creation of Prophet Muhammad, Allah also created time, right? And so people who want to diminish the value of Prophet Muhammad can say then time is the master of Muhammad, right? They can say time is the master of Muhammad because time was there. Basically, if you think about the kind of philosophy, right? You think about, so then at the moment Prophet Muhammad was created, time was created. So what was created first? The time before Prophet Muhammad existed or Prophet Muhammad's existence? Do you see what I'm saying? So if the time before Prophet Muhammad was there before Prophet Muhammad, then some people can say time is above Prophet Muhammad because time was created first, right? But Allah made it very clear. It said the master of time is his great grandson, Imam Muhammad Mehdi Sahib was Imam alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So make no mistake, Allah is on top of Allah is the greatest. Allah is one, right? And Adalat, we'll talk about Tawheed, we'll talk about it in a second again, right? Then he created Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to say that this Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wajafar, to say that this is my most perfect creation. Everything I create after this is not going to be inferior, because nothing I do is inferior, but this is the best thing I'm going to create, and I will create. And that is to show that Allah needs no practice, no blueprints, no plan, no help, nothing, right? Somebody could say, oh, Prophet Muhammad, so the first creation helped Allah, but no, Allah created the first creation, was the perfect creation, to say that's it. Like, I need no practice. Everything I do is the best, right? And so Allah created Prophet Muhammad, the light of Prophet Muhammad. And as we said yesterday, that this light praised Allah for 100,000 years, and Allah was so pleased that He broke the light up into two. And this other part of the light followed the first part of the light and praised Allah for 100,000 years, right? That was the light of Hazrat Ali alayhi salam. And from that, from those, that light as a whole, He created the light of Bibi Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wajafar. It's the most intense part of the light. And Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, right? And Imam Hussein is who we've been talking about for these days, right? Now, why is this so important, right? It's the roots of our religion. Our religion is rooted. Our religion grows from the Usul-ud-Din, right? Tawheed, Adam, Nabuwwat, Imamat, Khiyamat, right? And to understand why we should, not just why we worship, but why you should worship, you need to understand these tenets. So now the Salawat, I said Prophet Muhammad did some pretty cool things, right? One of the coolest things, well, I don't know, in my opinion, my ignorant opinion, right? From my ignorant base of knowledge, my incomplete base of knowledge, Miraj was a pretty awesome thing that Prophet Muhammad did, right? And when he was going on the journey of Miraj, he went from earth through the heavens, and he went to the edge. Like, you think about it, everything's created, and there has to be a boundary where there's nothing created, because Allah is beyond creation, right? Prophet Muhammad actually went past the boundary of creation and went closer to Allah than anything has ever gone, and had a discussion with Allah, right? And as he was going on this journey, he saw many angels, right? He saw, one angel that was made of half fire and half snow, but the snow wasn't melting and the fire wasn't quenching, right? He said the biggest creation he'd ever seen, and that was another angel, right? He saw an angel who had green and white wings, and when he spread his wings, his wingspan would go all across the earth, right? That's how big his wingspan was, and that's how big heaven is, right? This one angel spreads his wings, and the wingspan is the exact diameter of the earth, right? And every time he spread his wings, all the peacocks on earth would do that too. You see, we have no idea what angels do. Allah creates angels to do many different things, right? Many different things, right? But difference between mankind and angels is angels can't do anything other than what Allah's assigned them to do, right? We can go do hood rat stuff whenever we want to, right? Right? We can go do whatever we want, right? Angels can't do that, but we can go do whatever we want, right? Even though we know what's best for us, right? Think about it. Before people knew that smoking was killing people, I did not know that, right? In the 80s, people were smoking in the car with the windows down, kids in the back seat, people smoking inside offices, inside classrooms, right? That's just what they did. Teachers would smoke while teaching classes, right? And then people like smoking, gives you lung cancer. But, if I would have known. And then there's $1 billion, lawsuits, billions of dollars lawsuits in the 80s is ridiculous money now, right? And then people, if I would have known, I wouldn't have smoked. So why do you blame Islam and the Imam for Allah for sending the message, Imams for showing us how to do the message, and say Islam is too constricting? Oh, I can't do anything because I'm Muslim. Can't do anything because I'm Muslim, right? I can't go turn up because I'm Muslim. I can't go to I can't have any fun because I'm Muslim, right? Imam is for everybody, dude, not just for Muslims. We just know where the information is, and we know to look at it, and we know whether we could choose to use it or not. You want to use it or not, that's your choice, right? Doesn't matter to Allah, He's still going to provide for you, right? So that is, but that's where Khiyamat comes in, right? So Prophet Muhammad's going, and one of the angels he saw, said, I saw his angel, and on his arm, he had 1,000 hands. And on each hand, he had 1,000 fingers. And on each finger, he had 1,000 fingers. And he looks at the angel and like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, what do you do? Like, he knew this angel had a job. So he's like, what do you do, angel? He's like, I count. He's like, what do you count? He's like, I count the blessings that Allah sends to earth. That blessings Allah sends to earth. See, there's blessings being sent on earth now, showering with blessings like spiritual energy that we can't see, but also Allah sends rain, right? Also, that's a blessing that Allah sends down, right? So these are the kinds of rahmat He would count. When Allah sends rosy forgiveness down, the angel would count all of this, right? For example, if you would ask this angel, hey, how much rainfall fell over Huntington Beach, California in 1972? He would tell you that. It was his job to know these numbers and to account for the rahmat that Allah sends to the earth, okay? Rahmat is forgiveness, right? But and the generosity, right? That He sends down on the earth, right? And let's be real here, right? Any generosity Allah sends down is His rahmat, right? And any blessing He sends us is Him forgiving us and still giving us something good, right? So that's what this angel would count. So Prophet Muhammad looks at all his fingers, looks at all his hands, and he's like, "You can count a lot." He says, "Hey, tell me something. How many? Is there a number so high that you can't count to it?" So there's only one number that high, right? There's only one thing that high that I can't count. He's like, "What's that?" He's like, "The amount of blessings Allah sends to earth when one person recites Darood on you and your family. Bar Muhammad wa ala Muhammad sallallahu. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wajil farajum." One more. Let's get the blessings. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wajil farajum. So, when you recite Fatiha, right, I talked about getting the blessings of the Quran, right? Recitation of the Quran, but also think about the blessings that we get, our marhum get, our marhum's friends in death get, and they get for sending the blessings on them. We get to all those, right? This is, Allah's kingdom is endless. Why do we only pray for ourselves? Ya Allah, please give everyone else all the moment, anything I ask for, and then after that, give it to me, please. That is 100% how it should be, right? We're brothers, right? We're here. All of this is unimportant. What's important is the message of Allah, right? To truly understand and be free. See, if Allah just put us on earth and said to worship, that wouldn't be right? And so Allah tells us, right? The important thing before you worship me is understand I'm one. Because only if something is one is it worth worshiping, right? That doesn't mean like one God and two gods, right? That means one also in his message. My message will never deviate, right? Whatever I say is true always, right? Whatever I say is forbidden is always forbidden, right? There's nothing that is good for you in this world that will get you guna, right? If something is bad for you on the hereafter, is bad for you in this world too. We just think it's not because we don't understand how, what's actually going on in the world. We have blinders on our eyes, right? The Tawheed of Allah is why Allah is there before everything. Allah will exist after everything because Allah transcends time, right? That's why we can't see Allah because Allah is one. And if we could see Allah, then there would be parts to Allah, right? That's why Allah is uncreated, right? The Tawheed of Allah. It's important to understand that because if you worship anything other than a one God, a solitary deity, you're worshiping something that is not the greatest power. And I am confident, I am 100% certain that Allah is one, and I am worshiping the highest, the Allahu Akbar, the greatest, right? Not Allah is great, Allah is the greatest. Allah is not kind of good. Allah is the greatest. Allah is the most generous. Allah is the most, the only creator. You see, Allah is, and to understand, that's the tip of the iceberg for Tawheed, right? And that scares other people of other faiths, right? Why? Because our God is stronger than their God, which is false because everybody has the same God. Everyone has the same God, but we compartmentalize, right? Oh, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, they're not my God, right? But wasn't Hazrat Isa our prophet? You see what I'm saying? And he was the prophet of all mankind, right? And Allah is the God of all, not just all mankind, everything, right? In fact, Hazrat Isa was the prophet of everything too, right? And so, that is the concept of Tawheed we've been discussing, right? I could go on, forever about this, right? And you guys would stop listening to me, right? So the next thing is adalat, right? Everything that happens, like there's nothing that happens randomly. Everything that happens is directly related to Allah making it happen, right? That is how we know that everything that happens is perfection. That's how, when the people would follow Prophet Muhammad, but they weren't really, they didn't believe in everything he was saying. They didn't believe in his perfection. They would say things like when he would speak, they would say, "Is this you talking as a man or talking as a prophet?" Prophet Muhammad didn't breathe without breathing Allah's will. You see what I'm saying? Like everything he did was Allah's will. Even every word he spoke was Allah's will, and everything that happens in the world is happening because of Allah. Shaitan doesn't make anything happen, right? He convinces us to do things, but nothing happens without Allah. And we look at things. Well, if it's bad and Allah's perfect, then how does Allah do bad things? Listen, they're only bad for us. Nothing's bad for Allah, right? This is all everything in its completion, right? In its entirety taken together is perfect. And because of that, every single piece of it is perfect. And that is the adalat of Allah, right? And these two are necessary. See, Allah is saying, if you're going to worship, these two are necessary pieces to worshiping me, because your Lord should be one and your Lord should be just and all powerful, right? Right? Tawheed and, and adalat, they illustrate these two things about a deity, right? And then there's Nubuwwat. Nubuwwat is the message, right? Right? We have, 124,000 plus prophets, right? The best of which being Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So then there's a message, right? If I go and I tell you, hey, I want you to do math, right? What are you going to do? Right? You might go do some addition, subtraction, so somebody a little bit more intelligent, like somebody might go do some calculus and be like, now what? You know what I mean? I don't know that kind of math. You know what I'm saying? And but you don't know what I'm talking about. Go do math. What does that mean, right? So he could work for 35 minutes on this complex calculus problem, right? So solve a complex problem and show it to me, and somebody could give me 2 + 2, and I'll be like, sum of the wins. That's what I wanted, right? You see what I'm saying? That would be unfair, right? And if Allah is fair, then Allah has to give us a message, right? Allah has to tell us what to do. And so the message is go do math, right? That's not Allah's message. It is important to learn different disciplines, right? So but Allah gives the message. The message comes from the Prophet, right? So then if I tell Irtizabai and somebody to go do math, right? And he's sitting there trying to think, and he's sitting there trying to do calculus, and you see, Hadi's sitting there, and Hadi knows me very well. So Hadi's like, no. Komelbai wants you to do multiplication. Trust me, right? And then somebody's like, yeah, Hadi plays basketball with Komel. Komel beats him all the time. He trusts him, so he probably knows. Irtaza sitting there, he's like, Hadi's never lied to me, so Hadi probably knows that Komel wants multiplication. So then you do multiplication, right? That's imamat, right? You see what I'm saying? So the message is go do, and imamat is the how, right? And the message that they gave in Karbala, the reason why Bibi Zainab stood up in Karbala and carried Imam Zainul Abidin on her back was to save imamat, right? To save imamat, right? It wasn't about water. It wasn't even about, standing up to Yazid was about imamat. To say that the only true leadership is the leadership that comes from Allah, right? Now, imamat is not just Hazrat Ali talking to Muslims and Shias, no. Right? It's not just Hazrat Ali talking to people who read Nahj al-Balagha. No, imamat is for everybody, right? The message is for everybody, right? The prophets, right? Hazrat Isa, everybody's prophet, not just Christians' prophet. Hazrat Isa is our prophet. I mean, our prophet is Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. But if Hazrat Isa was right here and he told me to do something, I would do hopefully everything he told me to do. Why? Because he is a lover of Prophet Muhammad too. And he, in his vast knowledge, understands that there's no greater creation, no greater knowledge on earth than the knowledge of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No one's closer to Allah than Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So the prophets came and gave the message. And some prophets, like Hazrat Ibrahim, was prophet and imam, right? Allah gave him prophethood, right? Learned the message, and then he became imam and now teach people how to do the message, right? And so that happened, right? Now to complete Prophet Muhammad's mission, he had to appoint a successor, which, as you know, was no other than the Lion of God, Hazrat Ali alayhi salam. Allahumma ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And so, Allah, we talked about how Imam Jafar Sadiq said that if there were two men on earth, one would be the imam, right? Why is that? It's not to make one subservient to the other. It's because here on earth, we don't have the right vision. Our mind can't perceive the truth. We don't have the right ears to hear. We don't have the right nose to smell the fragrance of it, right? Of Allah's blessings, right? We're blind, deaf, and dumb to all this stuff. So we need a guide, because without a guide, it's not fair, Allah, right? On the day of judgment, you're going to stand there, Allah, you didn't guide me, right? You didn't guide me. And Allah's going to say, I guided you. I guided you. How? From the imam, right? Now you wonder, right? What about my neighbor? He's a Christian. Does imam guide him? Imam guides everybody. See, the imam is not just a guide for you and I. Imam is a guide for everybody, right? But that's why Islam has the requirement of certainty. So when you see the indication of guidance, right? You know what's right and wrong. Sometimes we do things that are kind of on the border, but you always know it's right. You always inside know what's right. And that is where understanding that the imam talks to you comes, right? And if you're confused, tell the imam, say, hey, you know what? I'm not very smart, and I know you're giving me clear message, but I need something clear. Why wouldn't the imam give you that? Right? You're gonna ask the imam to give me money, right? But you're gonna ask the imam, give me something good, like give me clarity and guidance. Why wouldn't the imam do that? It's ridiculous, right? Next time you ask and you understand, right? That guidance, that's a requirement for the imam to come and help you, right? Even when Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad was in captivity and being surveyed, right? In heavy surveillance, right? He still figured out a way. He was very stressed out, actually. Of course, he figured out a way, but he was very stressed out. And His stress was, how am I going to get the message out there, right? Not because the message needs to get out there, but because if I don't get the message out there, I failed my job. And I can't fail my job because I'm Imam, right? I'm appointed by Allah. It's impossible that I'm going to fail. And he stressed about how I'm going to get this message out there, and he got it out there, right? He got it out there. And Imam Mahdi Sahib was Imam alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Well, he's our Imam, right? So he's going to get the message out there, right? Not just to us, right? But to all humanity, we just have guidance, right? That's where the hadith, and that's where understanding the infallibility of the 14 Masumeen is, it was just told by Brother Dosa in Hadith Kisa, right? The infallibility of the Imam to understand where to follow the guidance from, right? Where to follow the guidance from, right? So we've been doing something, there's a couple quotes that, that we found about Imamat, right? And I want to read it. While I'm reading it up, if somebody can pull it up, that way we can get, we can all look at it and we can all see what's going on. Let me see what's Bar Muhammad wa ala Muhammad salawat. Allahumma salli ala. Okay. Okay, right here. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Yesterday we talked about quotes from Hazrat Ali alayhi salam about Imamat, right? Now, Imam Sadiq he's the father of all modern schools of discipline, basically. He was, able to teach people. Because he was able to teach people would come from afar and learn things like math and science and philosophy and chemistry, and they would learn from Imam Sadiq, and they went and decided that they, invented algebra. Some dude said, I invented algebra, when Imam Jafar Sadiq taught it to whoever taught it to him, right? Anyway, so one thing he talked about was Imamat. And he said about Imamat, he said, you should know that if someone denies the messengership of Isa alayhi salam and believes in the prophet of other messengers is not a believer. Seek the path of Allah by search and want of that Imam, whose sign is Haqq. Haqq means truth. And when your Imam is hidden, search for the signs, writings, and the words of the Imams, which are before you and perfect your religious affairs, and you will have believed in your Lord. So he gives us steps to believe in the Lord. He said, first, believe in a messenger, right? Believe in the messenger and believe in all the messengers, right? After he says believe in all the messengers, he goes on to say, that if you don't believe in one of them, you don't believe in any of them. Why? Right? That kind of sounds like Tawheed, right? That kind of sounds like the oneness of Allah, right? His message is one as well, right? The Quran and the Ahlul Bayt, they walk his companions. Isn't that what we talked about yesterday? That's one message, right? That is the one message that Allah is sending, right? And so you believe in that, right? And then he says that you search for your Imam. Now it's funny because Imam Jafar Sadiq was not hidden. He was saying this to people. If your Imam is hidden, right? So who's he talking to? What do you think, right? And I'm not going to break down my thing about, but I want to go sentence by sentence, so we could do this. This I think this mic is on too, right? And so I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Socratic method, but I want you to read the quote and whether I want to see what you guys think about it. So brother Ali Sagar, why don't you go over? Let's go over this first line.
So it says, you should know that if someone, he also narrated from Imam Sadiq that you should know that if someone denies the messengership of Isa and believes in the prophethood of all other messengers, he is not a believer. So to me, what I understand from that is they're not mutually exclusive. You can't follow one and say that you don't follow the others, because Brother Kumail said earlier, that the message is a unified message. It's a singular idea that God has put into the world, and each of these messengers, from Isa, from Adam to Prophet Muhammad, are all aspects of that same unified thought and that same unified message and idea. So if you don't follow one, then you're missing the whole idea, which is unification and one.
Okay, so mute that one. So here's something I want you to think about. He didn't specifically say follow all the prophets, right? He didn't say if you don't follow Abraham. He didn't say if you don't follow Musa. He said if you don't follow Isa,
right? Why is Imam Jafar Sadiq talking about Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, right? Why Isa? What you know? What is what's the purpose? Well, what's he trying to say? He's talking. I don't know the context of this, but usually when Imam Jafar Sadiq would talk, there'll be a lot of Muslims there listening, right? We're coming to listen to somebody talk about the Imam because we're Muslims, right? The Imam's talking about Isa. Why is he talking about Hazrat Isa? Hold on. So
Isa isn't Prophet Isa. So it would be some religions consider Prophet Isa as Jesus, correct? And if as of the way I see it, what if it's kind of saying being said towards like us Muslims as basically don't think that like don't deny the existence of Jesus just because the way I how just because they're saying it's a Jesus, but Jesus is Prophet Isa, and Prophet Isa was a believer of Prophet Muhammad, and Prophet Muhammad came from Allah. You know what I'm saying? So in a sense, like that's the way I kind of see it.
That's awesome. And the thing is that's since you hear me talk real quick.
What's interesting is when I was reading that, I was thinking that Imam Jafar Sadiq is also giving guidance to Christians and saying if you believe Isa, then you should believe Muhammad. But what Brother Samad said is actually fascinating because we look at other people and we think that their message was not our message, right? We look at them and we think that they're different from us. And Imam Jafar Sadiq says that if they accept Isa, right? I mean, he said that their belief is not complete if they don't accept the prophets after that, right? But, imamat is also, imamat is people getting the message out there, right? Is imams getting the message, literally people, the imams getting the message out there, right? And if the imam is going to guide you and the imam is going to guide you, right? And your neighbor doesn't have any guidance, perhaps your actions and your commitment to the imam is the guidance for your neighbor. You see what I'm saying? It is our response. That's why it's our responsibility to accept that the imam is alive and the imam is talking to us. And it's our responsibility to walk towards the guidance of the imam because we are helping the imam get the message out there, right? That's why it's so important, right? And so when we see, people, the people of Musa, the Jews, and we see the people of Isa, the Christians, right? It's really important that we don't hoard the knowledge, that we don't take the knowledge for granted and say, like some things, the like salawat, they might not understand, right? But if there's some small concepts, like if they feel lost, right? If somebody feels upset, you should tell them, hey, you know what? Call your imam, he'll come. Be like, what? Like, hey man, there's a man out there who's here to help you. He's your hero. Call to him, right? That is our responsibility as people who believe in imamat, right? That's really insightful, brother. Someone. So the next one it says that seek the path of Allah by search and want of that imam whose haq right, whose sign is the truth. And when your imam is hidden, search for the signs. Seek the path of Allah by search and want of that imam whose sign is truth. And when your imam is hidden, search for the signs, right? Hadi bhai, why don't you tell us a little bit about it? You're up next.
I guess this kind of relates to like what we're dealing with today in terms of, I guess, the imam is technically, hidden. I mean, he's amongst us, but he's hidden, like we can't see him or perceive him. But we have all these teachings from the Quran, from imams, from hadith, from the Prophet, and those are guidelines that we have to show us, the way we should live our lives today. And then even with, the marjas and stuff, it's another way, another, I guess, gateway to the imams and to the Prophet and to Allah.
Yeah. Let me ask you something. Hadiba was talking about the signs, right? And following the hadith and the marja. Do you think those are the only signs that the imam sends us?
No, I feel like there's a lot of different signs. It could be through in terms of getting the message out there. It could be, watching, testing you. You go to school, blah blah blah. You experience a lot of different things, and you have the opportunity to, actually experience it. I feel like the signs he sends is also, people in our lives that try to tell us, don't do these things, give advice, see if we accept it, if we're actually listening to them. Mm-hmm. So I think signs can come in a lot of different ways.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it could even be nonverbal.
Of course.
Sometimes their mom talks to you intimately, right? Sometimes, why don't you talk about this, brother, how the imam can talk to us sometimes, right?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the imam can talk to us in like a various sort of ways. It just depends on how much you reach out and how much you kind of truly, like, I would say to a certain extent believe, but also, I mean, I don't know, maybe even if you not don't believe, but like even have those doubts, he can come like show you.
So you're saying the more you call out to your mom, the more he'll send you signs?
I would say so.
MashaAllah, how beautiful
Yeah.
is that? Think about that, right? I've been saying, why don't you call out to your
That's
mom?
why, you know, even our parents, they're just all, and they get up, they're like, "Yali Madat," like they know, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
so when
The
we
more you
apply
call
that
him,
a
the
little
more
bit,
he answers, right?
yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, the answers in many different ways, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's a feeling that you get when you're looking for advice, when you're seeking for the answer to something, when you should know, hey, my best friend's having a birthday party. He's turning 21. I've known this guy all my life. This situation happened to me, right? I've known this guy all my life. My best friend, his birthday is on 7th Muharram, right? What am I going to do about that? How can I explain to this guy, right? Who I used to go to church with him, right? You know, I was Muslim, and I go to church with him, right? To see what's going on in church. You know, on Easter we'd go, midnight mass we'd go, right? And so a very, very close friend of mine, and his birthday, he's like, my birthday is that day, 21, right? Times like that. It's when you call your mom for help, right? You don't call, someone, but you don't call Komel, but you call your mom for help. Now, why wouldn't your mom help you in that situation? Sister Asa, what do you think?
It's his job to help you, so he would help you.
Exactly. It's his job to help you, so he would help you, right? If he doesn't help you, he's not doing his job. Can you mute that?
So
and search for signs, writings, and words of the imams. Brother, how do you went over that? Before you and perfect your religious affairs. So only through imamat and only through that guidance will we perfect the religious affairs, right? And this part is pretty awesome. Then you will have believed in your Lord. Then you will have believed in your. What do you think about that, Salvatore?
Then you have believed in your.
Here, hold on. Let me unmute this.
Yeah. So he says, once you do all that, right? Once you accept prophecy, once you seek your imam, once you see the sign, then you will have worship, right?
I see it as back in the day, people like us, they had prophets and they had imams around us, but after us now we have books and teachings and of other people. So now we have to take it like blind faith, but it goes beyond faith. It's about the confidence. You have to know there's Allah. You have to know there were imams, and you have to know there were prophets in a sense. And like if you believe and if you are confident, then you believe that there is Allah.
And it's funny because I didn't realize this earlier today until we were talking about it, right? But we've been talking about the Usul-e-Din, Tawheed Adal Nabut Imamat Qiyamat, right? Tawheed Adal is the word, why Allah should be worshipped, right? And then here he talks about Nabuwat and Imamat. You see what I'm saying? In this quote is the Usul-e-Din, right? It's a requirement to have Nabuwat and Imamat, because without those, you have not worshipped your Lord, right? It's necessary to understand Imamat, right? If you don't understand Imamat, you're not even close to understanding, or you're not even close to worshiping, right? So whatever you're doing is not worship if you don't understand the Imam. And if you understand the Imam, right? If you understand the Imam, you're going to call to the Imam. That's also a requirement of Imamat, right? Understanding the Imam and calling the Imam, right? There's another quote. See, the Imam being for everybody is important, because when the Imam is in the presence of people of other faith, they're drawn to them, right? A lot of the people around Prophet Muhammad, they were polytheists, right? They used to worship idols, right? And not necessarily because they were smart or because they wanted some sort of, because they wanted, they had some sort of benefit that they thought, right? It was because of financial gain, because they would get money when people would go visit idols in the Kaaba, right? So they're polytheists because their polytheism is giving them stacks, you know what I mean? And so then Prophet Muhammad came. But Prophet Muhammad was so great. How could you deny what he's saying, right? People followed Prophet Muhammad around like, whoa, how do I get like that? And they would learn from Prophet Muhammad, and they would see Hazrat Ali alayhi salam, and they would go with Hazrat Ali alayhi salam. They would see the generosity of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, and they would go where Imam Hassan alayhi salam went, right? Right. And so when people would be in the presence, if we were in the presence of the Imam, we would not want to leave the Imam, right? There'd be this magnetic draw and this confidence and the sincerity and this perfection of truth that we would feel when we were in the presence of the Imam, right? That's the benefit of being in the presence of the Imam, right? So even non-believers, even the believers of Hazrat Isa, right? So here's one. It's one who likes that there should not be any curtain or veil between him and Allah. So we have binders on us, right? We have a curtain or a veil between us and Allah. And who wants to get the mercy of Allah and wishes that Allah may also look mercifully on him. So wanting the mercy for Allah is one thing, right? Then getting the mercy is another, right? So if you want these veils removed so you can understand a little bit, right? So you can stop being ignorant and stop doing things that are bad for us and thinking we're cool, it's fine, right? We seek the mercy of Allah and we get the mercy of Allah, right? Wishes that Allah may look mercifully at him and should love and befriend the Ali Muhammad, right? You should love and befriend the Ali Muhammad if you want that mercy and that clarity. You should be aloof from their enemies, right? It doesn't even say hate their enemies, aloof from, away from their enemies, right? Your enemy, Al-Bith, I don't even know about you. You're not even in my sphere of influence. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that you should lanat. Lanat is a privilege that we get because we understand what happened, but you should not even be around the enemies of the Al-Bith, right? That's not what we should do. And follow imamat of one of the 12 imams, right? Hence, the one who does like this will always look towards mercy and kindness of Allah. The divine look of mercy and kindness will also not ignore him, right? Right? So let's start with you again. We'll go in order this time. We're going to go Saad, we're just going to go around the room. So, even if you have something to say about the previous line, that's fine. You know what I mean? We can always go back, right? So, everyone get. And Brother Gustav, we're going to go to you second and then Irtiza. All right. So, Brother Saad, why don't you hit it?
So it says that the one who likes that there should not be any curtain or veil. So, like you said earlier, Brother Komel, when Prophet Muhammad went on the journey of Miraj, he got to the point where he got the closest that any being has ever gotten to Allah. And this is essentially saying the step-by-step guide to get to that point is to follow the Ali Muhammad and the people that God has put in place to allow you to even reach that stature and even reach that height. And I think it's kind of crazy and it's unfortunate that a lot of the Muslim world discounts that aspect of the family of the Prophet. They, discount the imams and they don't allow them to reach the potential to guide people because of whatever political agenda they hold. But essentially, they're doing the whole Muslim community a disservice by not letting them follow these people and reach that height.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the quote says, through correct chains of narrators conveyed from Imam Rida alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, that the one who likes that there should not be any curtain or veil between him and Allah, and who wants to get the mercy of Allah and wishes that Allah also may look merciful at him, should love and befriend the Ali Muhammad, and should be aloof from their enemies and follow the imamate of one of the 12 imams. Hence, the one who does like this will always look towards the mercy and kindness of Allah, and divine look of mercy and kindness will also not ignore him. So basically what I think that means is just that if you follow what's already written, what's already been taught through generations.
Didn't you just read us Hadith Kisa? Wasn't that you?
Yeah.
Wasn't that you?
Yeah, exactly.
Who wrote that?
Who wrote that? Bibi Fatima. Yeah, Bibi Fatima.
What does it say there? Right? Allah says these are the house of Imam. This is the house of prophecy. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Prophet He says that this is their flesh is my flesh. If you oppose them, you oppose me. Right?
Right.
Sorry, I was just thinking about
No.
I saw you thought of Hadith Kisa. Continue.
Yeah. So basically what I'm thinking this basically interprets is that if you want to reach that level of not power, but that level of mercy from Allah and that guidance from the imams and everything, then we should follow what's already been written. You understand what I'm saying? Like what's already been shown in the Quran, what's already been said in sermons by Prophet Muhammad, by Imam Ali, Imam Hassan, and so on and so forth. If we just listen to what they've said and all these narrations that have come out, then obviously we'll have the mercy of Allah, and we'll get to a level of power where we can understand what's going on and understand what's right for us and what's right for our brothers around us and everything like that.
Touching on what Brother Ali said, I feel like it's unfortunate, but I feel like we overcomplicate, getting towards heaven. We fantasize it so much, over fantasize it so much that we make it seem like it's harder. But Allah kind of has a set structure for us to get there. It's very simple, having blind faith in what He has set in place for us, which is following, the hadith of Ali Muhammad Islam, following all the imamat, keeping it simple and not overcomplicating something that is very achievable for any Muslim, which is just having faith in your religion, which is the reason you became Muslim in the first place. Wow. So really not diverting from, the path that you said you would be on once you became Muslim. So, just keeping tunnel vision throughout your religion. I feel like that's what that's what I interpret, that we oftentimes overcomplicate things, and it diverts us in a way that, puts us on the wrong path, actually.
I thought that was beautiful, brother. So thank you for that. I was thinking one time is in Surah Baqarah, when Allah talks about Iblis, right? He says that he asked all of the creation to bow in front of the creation of Hazrat Adam, and Iblis refused, right? After he refused, he challenged Allah. He said, I'm going to turn your mankind, and I'm going to show you that they don't worship the way that you think that they worship, right? So he challenged Allah, right? So let me ask you something. Somebody challenges Allah, who's going to win? Allah's going to win, right? Okay, now, if me and Irtaza play one-on-one, right? We're going up to 15, and he gets to 14, right? He can say, oh, come on, dude, you're so good, and I'm Irtaza, and I almost beat you, so give me props, right? Right? Now, if I'm playing against Brother Hadi, who's even worse than Brother Irtaza, right? And he gets 7 points, right? You might say, Hadi did pretty good. He got 7 points on you. Somebody scored 7 points on you, right? You see what I'm saying? Now, if I'm playing against my daughter Asya, she's 10. She's probably still better than Hadi, but she's 10, right? And she gets 3 points on me, right? You might say, hey, wow, she got 3 points on you. You're so much faster, right? And so that challenge that Shaitan made to Allah not only is going to fail, but it's going to fail miserably. It's going to fail miserably, right? Because if he gets 5% of the people into hell, he'll say, Allah, see, you're Allah and I'm nothing. I have 5% of your people into hell. What? Right? So Brother Irtaza said is really important and refreshing. Allah made it easy to get into heaven, right? By design of who Allah is and who Shaitan is and what Shaitan said to him, it has to be easy to get into heaven, right? God wants us to win, unless if your name is Irtaza. You know what I'm saying? Not only does he want us to win, right? He wants us to win together. He wants us to win as a team, right? He doesn't want us to go out there and heaven is not for one person. Heaven is for, in fact, heaven is so much for everyone that Bibi Fatima refuses to enter heaven until every single person who cried for her son gets into heaven, right? Heaven was made for her. She's a lady of Jannah, but she's going to wait for everyone to get in. So what's your rush to get your million? What's your rush? Why do you want success? But when you see your brother, rolling up in a nice new Tesla, you're like, I don't know that guy. Like, I don't know who he thinks he is. You know what I'm saying? Why do we do that? Well, you don't think Allah's kingdom is unlimited? Okay. And so let's remember this, right? As the Imam is in people's presence, right? The Imam is everyone's Imam, right? It's not just, I'm the Imam of Muslim people, and hey everyone, I'm Imam was saying I'm these people's leader. No, I'm your leader too, right? And that happened, right? That happened on the way to Karbala, right? Where were they going when they were on the way to Karbala? Where were they going? Were they going to Karbala, right? That's right, Sister Asia. They're going to Kufa. They're going to Kufa. Why? Because they want to get away from Yazid, right? Why? Like, okay, fine, they wanted to preserve their life, but why Kufa, right? They just wanted to post up there and be like, hey, let's look at the map, spin the globe, Kufa. Okay, why us?
Because the people of Kufa wrote letters to them, and when you call the imam or write letters to the imam.
Yeah, right. When you call the imam, write a rizas, right? At the jalus that we're gonna have on Sunday, we're gonna bring a rizas, right? We're gonna bring a rizas thanks to one of the brothers brought them, here so we could send them out to our imam, right? Let's write to our imam, right? Just like brother Ali Qasim Ali said, the more you call your imam, the more he's gonna answer you, right? If I don't, think about humans in general, right? When you start calling your friends up more often, you guys talk more, right? When you talk more, they check in more, right? You guys are still friends, you're still your mom, but you develop that relationship. Your bestie, you're gonna text them 35 times a day, right? Somebody you don't care about, you'll hit them up once a week or see them at the at the ISBL runs. You know what I'm saying? Once a week, once every month, right? And so develop a relationship with your mom, right? With everyone's imam, right? The imam is imam as everyone's imam. Allah's gonna ask everyone the same question: who's your prophet? Who's your imam? It's not gonna be like, hey, you went to the, there was a church that we're doing the julus that said, what did it say? Jesus es el Padre. It said Jesus is the man on the church. It was pretty awesome, right? They're gonna get asked too, who's your prophet and who's your imam, right? And if they say Jesus and don't say Imam Mehdi Sahib was Imam Islam, that they're may Allah send them mercy and guidance, right? You know what I'm saying? But we're gonna say Prophet Muhammad, right? We're gonna say Imam Mehdi Sahib was Imam Islam, right? And as Imam Hussein Islam was walking right to Kufa, right? He came across a young couple, right? They were lost, right? Looking, maybe I don't know if they had some raggedy map, but they're in the middle of the desert, so like I'd be lost. People can look at the stars and be like, oh, that's north, right? I can't do that. You put me in the desert with no GPS, I ain't never coming back, right? But people were way smarter back then, right? So there was this guy who was this, young, in shape gentleman, like Brother Irtaza here, muscular young man, and he just got married, right? He just got married. Pray that the brothers of our community, sisters of our communities get married, and Allah starts them with the rosy of their families very soon. Bar Muhammad wa ala Muhammad Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Would you switch it to? And so as they're going to Kufa, they see this, people, right? There was a young man, a young lady, and an elderly woman, right? The young man was named Abdullah ibn Wahab, right? The lady, she's known as Wahab, and the young lady, and the elderly lady was Abdullah ibn Wahab's mother. Okay, they were Christians. They're Christians from land that still practice Christianity, and they were on their way to Kufa, right? They were going to Kufa after their marriage, right? And so as they were walking to Kufa, they got lost, right? As they got lost, the Imam finds them, right? And he's like, hey, what are you guys doing? Can I help you? So like, we're on our way to Kufa. He's like, oh, us too. Come on, let's go. Follow us, right? So they're following the Qafila of Imam Hussein. Now the Qafila of Imam Hussein, right? It's not, they didn't get there in a car or a bus, obviously. Well, we know that, right? But they camels and horses and on feet, you know what I'm saying? And then they would stop. When they would stop, right, to have water, do namaz, right, set up a tent, Imam Hussein would address everybody, right? And he would, tell people, give them knowledge, give them inspiration, would talk about Allah. If you read Najm Balagha, the first thing Hazrat Ali does in any of his sermons is he talks about Allah, right? The greatness of Allah. And so this Christian, newly married Christian man and his wife and his mother, they followed Imam Hussein all the way to Karbala. And then when they were stopped in Karbala, and he would listen to the sermons all the time, right? So when they were stopped in Karbala, Imam Hussein went to me and said, hey, thank you. Kufa's that way. We can't go. This guy Ibn Ziyad, they say, this is, we're going to stay here. In fact, right now we got to move these tents from the water. So, go. Right. And so, Abdullah ibn Wahab, he thought for a second. And when he talked to his mother, he said, I've been listening to this man who says he's the grandson of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They were devout Christians. They loved Hazrat Isa. They loved Jesus. They loved them some Jesus. You know what I'm saying? And they were devout Christians. And the mother, she's elderly. She's Christian her whole life, right? They just had a Christian wedding, his Christian wife, right? And now they're walking with Mom said, listening to what he's saying, right? Listen. For days they listened, and now they're in Kufa, right? And Imam Hussein in his sermons, he would tell people too. He would let them know what's going to go on. Like, we're not walking into safety. There's danger. It's like when you're on MLK Boulevard, saying there's danger ahead, right? You're saying, and so people, knew what was going on, right? And so he tells them, This is not a safe journey. And if you want to leave at any time, you could go. And so now at this point in time, they're in Karbala and Kufa is the other way. And he's directing Wahab, okay, you go straight, take a right at the camel. And then, and so, you're giving them directions, right? And, Abdullah ibn Wahab goes to talk to his mom. He said, I've been listening to this man. And I feel like he's telling the truth. Like what he says inspires me and gives me peace in my heart. And thinking about deserting him and letting these soldiers kill him, I don't think I can live with myself as a man if I let that happen. Like, how am I going to let these guys kill this guy when I've been spending so, like, it just made no sense to him, right? And his mom said, if that's what you think is right, then that's what you should do. Then that's what you should do. And so they stayed all the way, right, through the 10th of Muharram. Now you think when the water got stopped, right? He has a new bride. When you have a new bride, right? It's a new bride. Like it's not an old bride, right? He hasn't been married for a while, right? We're cool, right? No, he's trying to impress this lady. I'm the guy for you. Now that they're married and he's promising her a good life, right? And now he ends up in Karbala with no water. You know what I'm saying? Like even back then, having no water was a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like now it's an awful thing, but back then it was And so he's with his new bride. The water gets cut off, and now the day of Ashura comes, right? And he's still, staying there. And Imam Hussein tells him, he said, you should go. You should go. You're safe. You stayed with us. May Allah grant you, forgiveness and put you on the right path. By the way, the path to Kufa is that way. Kind of ironic, right? And so he tells him, he said, you know what? I want to stay. He said, look, these people here, they're defending their Imam, right? They accept me as their Imam, right? He says, aren't you my Imam? I said, of course I'm your Imam. So the guy recited Kalma, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, Aliyun Waliullah, right? Says this and converted himself to Muslim, right? He did, right? His wife had not. His mother, I don't know if his wife did the Kalma, but I know his mother at this point in time had not, right? And so the day of Ashura comes, right? The day of Ashura comes, and at first there were, attacks. Think about this, right? Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam gives azan in the morning, right? Fills the land with the voice of Prophet Muhammad, reminding people, right? Hey, you guys remember what the Prophet sounded like? Listen to this, right? And then people who would remember, right, might have nostalgia and go to see who's giving azan, and they look and they see somebody who looks exactly like the handsome, the beautiful, the perfect Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Muhammad, and they see him giving azan, right? And this is why he did that, right? And then he comes down, and eventually the war was on, right? First they started raining arrows, right? Think about the children and the women, right? They're hearing, oh, the thirst, oh, the thirst. That's probably one of the first times that they didn't hear al-Atash for a little bit, right? Because now there's arrows, now it's raining, right? Before they were thirsty for water, al-Atash, al-Atash. Women hearing their children saying it. The strongest men who ever lived, Hazrat Abbas, Hani bin Urwa, Zubair ibn Kain, Muslim bin Asija, right? The strongest men who ever lived, not being able to help the children, hearing them, oh, the thirst, al-Atash, al-Atash, and all of a sudden no one's saying that. Why? Because it's raining. It's not raining water, it's raining arrows. It's raining arrows. Arrows are cutting the tents, cutting through the tents and cutting the sleeves of the, right? And the children are seeing their arrow in front of them, right? I don't know how many people might have gotten killed in that. My knowledge is lacking. May Allah increase all of our knowledge so we can all learn, right? And so, you don't hear al-Atash anymore, right? Because there's arrows raining. So what did, Imam Hussein, Hazrat Abbas do, right? They led a battalion to go and defend from the right and go and defend from the left, right? And now, that had gone on for a while. And so after Hazrat Tur had been martyred, right? After Muslim bin Asija had been martyred, right? The two of the great soldiers, they were freed slaves. Ibn Ziyad was pulling out all the tricks. He'd go to neighboring towns and see somebody herding sheep. He'd go, I'm going to kill your sheep if you don't take your sword and go fight this rebel, right? They did that. So when they got all the men, Yazid wanted more men. So what Ibn Ziyad did is he went and freed all the slaves, all the servants. He freed them all and said, you're all free if you go fight this man, right? So now they had even more, right? And so there were two slaves of Ibn Ziyad that had gotten freed, and they were pretty, they were good warriors. They had been with him a long time. Ibn Ziyad was a war general, right? So they knew how to fight. They know how to use the sword. They want to impress the chief, right? So they went to in front of the tents of Imam Hussein, and they demanded the best warriors come out, right? So Zubair ibn Kain stood up. Hani bin Urwa stood up. Hani bin Urwa died in Kufa. Habib ibn Mazahir had come, right? They were all ready, and Imam Hussein said, no, let's send this young man. He looks strong, right? let's send this guy, you know, and his wife, he was talking about the Christian man who Abdullah ibn Wahab, right? And his wife had heard this and she said, no, please don't go. Please don't go. And he turned towards his mother and he looked at his mother and her mother said, he said, forgive her. Forgive her. She's young and she's ignorant. You do what you think is right, right? And the wife heard this, right? She was a young girl, right? She heard this and she went and she stood in front of the imam and she said, are you my imam too? He said, yes, I am. And he said, if he dies defending you, is he going to go to heaven? He said, absolutely. And she said, I have one favor to ask. Can you make sure he doesn't enter heaven without me? And he looked at her and he said, I will make sure you both enter heaven together. And so the bride looked at her husband and she gave him permission. He was so excited, right? He was ready to go. Like these are men back then, you know, they weren't scared, right? And it's not even they weren't scared. He had a purpose. He had a purpose and he had a reason to do something. He couldn't wait, right? So he got on, I don't think he had a horse. He took his sword, right? And he went out to fight these soldiers, right? And as he was fighting the soldiers, you know, he didn't realize the skill of the first one, right? And the first one had cut off his hand, right? He cut off his hand and he just froze for a second. He froze for a second, and he picked up the sword. And this is a young man who was a Christian soldier, right? So he killed the first warrior and he killed the second warrior, right? And the people, you know, you could hear the disappointment from, you know, the camp, the troops of Ibn Ziyad who thought that this young boy would be defeated, right? But now he has the right intention. Remember at the beginning, I said, purify your intention. When you do something with the intention, the best of intentions, Allah gives you the best of outcomes, right? And so he defeated these two great warriors of Ibn Ziyad's camp, right? This used to be Christian guy, right? And so he goes back, his hand is bleeding, right? And, you know, he got cut, I think from where his fingers, where his hand is bleeding, right? But he's still ready. And he said, Mom, are you proud of me? And she said, I'm not going to be proud of you until you go and you die in the name of your cause. So if that's what you wanted to do, that's when I'll be proud of you. And so he charged again. And he battled with one arm. He battled with one arm and he kept fighting and fighting, right? He's a skilled warrior. He was fast. He was good with the sword. And the enemy surrounded him and they cut off his shoulder. They cut off his shoulder and his arm fell to the floor. And then they all attacked him from all sides, spears, rocks, swords, hitting him, kicking him, right? And then his wife, Wahab, she went to Imam Hussein and she said, you know, I want to go help him. He said, no, jihad is not wajib on you. Please go sit with the women. She went and sat down. When the enemies dispersed, her husband lay there dead and she ran out. She ran out beside him and started crying over him. And Ibn Ziyad sent his servant to take a mace and he hit this girl in the head so hard that she started to bleed. This was the first woman martyr of Karbala. This is the first woman martyr of Karbala, was somebody who had been a Christian not more than 15 minutes before. You know, I don't know the time, you know, that day, she had woke up that day Christian and she had died. The first marhum in Karbala. The first marhum in Karbala was Wahab, right? And they had died together, right? And the mother-in-law stood at the camp and she started calling out. She said that I grew up with the Christians and the Christians are better people than you guys, telling these people who thought they were Muslim, right? They're thinking they're standing up for the Khalifa. She said, the Christians that I know are better people than you. And Ibn Ziyad heard this. He heard this and he commanded his soldiers to go and cut off the head of Abdullah ibn Wahab. They cut the head off and they threw it at this lady. They threw it at this lady who was just walking, who had just celebrated her son's wedding to this young lady who had just celebrated the wedding and had just seen her son and her daughter-in-law. This is a lady who is now going to be a woman amongst the destitute in Karbala on Sham al-Ghariba. She had lost her family. The only family she had now are the people she had just met while following the caravan of Imam Hussein, and they took the head of her beloved son, her youthful beloved son, and they threw it at her feet. And she picked up the head. She picked up the head and she dusted the sand off of the head. And she looked at the head and she kissed the head of her son. She kissed the head of her son and she called to the army. She said that my son is sadaqah I gave him in the way of Allah and I don't want him back. And she threw the head back onto the battlefield. You see, when we call for the Imam, when we know about our Imam, we need to understand the Imam is not just our Imam. The Imam is the Imam of the Christians, the Jews, the Buddhists, the ants, the flies. The Imam is the Imam of the whole world. And that is the only kind of deity, sorry, not deity, that's the only kind of king that we should worship. Is the king of everything, because he's the king of everything and everyone. And if you're not the king of everything and everyone, then why are we gonna pay allegiance to him? Just like with Allah, if Allah is not the Allah of everything and everyone, if Allah is not just, if our Imam is not just, if our Imam message is different than the message of any one of the prophets, if our Imam's message is different than the message that Allah sent down, if the Imam's message is different than the message of the Quran, right? If there's not Tawheed in the message, right? Tawheed is only to Allah. I use Tawheed to show a comparison, right? Oneness is only of Allah. But if the message, right? If the message is not secure as one message with no missing links, right? With no weak change, with no lies, with no deception, with no imperfection throughout the Quran and throughout Imamah, then we're calling to the wrong king. And that's what Imam Hussein, that's what his people were standing up to and saying that the people on this earth are smarter than that. And they're better than that. We have a bigger responsibility than to go take allegiance to a tyrant, take allegiance to somebody who distorts the words of the Quran and the hadith of the Prophet and Hazrat Ali alayhi salam. We pay allegiance only to he who's guiding us to the right path. And he who's guiding us to the right path on this day, our living Imam Mahdi Sahib Zaman alayhi salam. Bar Muhammad wa ala Muhammad sallallahu. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa jafar Matam Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Read it. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein.
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
do the second verse.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein, Ya
Ya
Hussein.
Rabb koi maasuma zinda mein na tanha ho. Ya Rabb koi maasuma zinda mein na tanha ho. Ya Rabb koi maasuma zinda mein na tanha ho. Ya Rabb koi maasuma zinda mein na tanha ho. पाबंद ना हुआए हाय पाबंद ना हुआए होने पे न बहरा हो. या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा में न तन्हा हो. या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा में न तन्हा हो. थी जिसको नींद आती शबीर के सीने पर. थी जिसको नींद आती शबीर के सीने पर. जिंदा करे जिंदा है जिंदा करे जिंदा उसके लिए कज़ा हो. या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा में न तन्हा हो. या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा में न तन्हा हो. जिंदानों से आती थी आवाज सिसकने की. जिंदानों से आती थी आवाज सिसकने की. जैसे कि सकीना को हर जैसे कि सकीना को हर जिंदा रो रहा हो. या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा में न तन्हा हो. या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा में न तन्हा हो. टकराए न वो क्यों कर जिंदा की दीवारों से. टकराए न वो क्यों कर जिंदा की दीवारों से. आई से और पुपी से आई भाई से और पुपी से किसको जुदा किया हो. या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा में न तन्हा हो.
معصوما زندہ میرا تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصوما زندہ میرا تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصوما زندہ میرا تنہا ہو پابند نہ ہوا ہے پابند نہ ہوا ہے رونے پہ نہ پہرا ہو یا رب کوئی معصوما زندہ میرا تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصوما زندہ میرا تنہا ہو
یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین
یا حسین یا حسین
مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین وہ عابد بیمار تھا وہ عابد بیمار تھا چلنے سے جو لاچار تھا چلنے سے جو لاچار تھا اور شام کا بازار تھا اور شام کا بازار تھا اور مصطفیٰ کی بیٹیاں
مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین
یا حسین یا حسین شبیر کی وہ لاڈلی
شبیر کی وہ لاڈلی
سینے پہ وہ شاہ کے پلی
سینے پہ وہ شاہ کے پری
جس کی اماں میں جلی
جس کی آباد میں جلی
بیتما چوک کے نشان
مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین
پیاس کے لے خنجر چلے
پیاس کے گلے خنجر چلے
چادر چنی خیمے جلے
چادر چنی خیمے چلے
آباس کے پرچم چلے
آباس کے پرچم چلے
روک پر کہیں یہ بیٹیاں
مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین
روک کر کہیں قاسم کی ماں
رو کر کہیں قاسم کی ماں
مارا گیا قاسم جوان
مارا گیا قاسم جوان
اللہ نے دودو کہا
اللہ نے دودو کہا
مہندی تری سر کہاں
مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین
یا حسین یا حسین وہ عسکر بے شیر تھا
وہ عسکر بے شیر تھا
اور حرملہ کا تیر تھا
اور حرملہ کا تیر تھا
پیاسا گلا کیوں کرکتا
پیاسا گلا کیوں کرکتا
لرزی زمین اور آسمان
مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین 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 اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وجل فرج. We'll do the
Yeah. No, do you want me to do translations like a little bit here and there? Yeah. I'll also, yeah. Okay. Whenever.
Is it? This is translation.
Okay, so Bismillah, dua faraj. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألا الأزم البلاء وبري الخفاء وانكشف الغطاء وانكتر الرجاء ودعكت الأرض ومنذت السماء وأنت المستعان وإليك المشتكى وعليك الموال في الشهادات والركاء اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أولي الأمر الذين فرضت علينا تحتهم وعرفتنا بذلك منزلة ففرج أنا بحقهم فرجا عاجلا قريبا كلم البصار أو هو أقرب يا محمد يا علي يا علي يا محمد اكفياني فإنكما رافيان وانصراني فإنكما ناصران يا مولانا يا صاحب الزمان الغوث 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 أدركني 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 الساعة 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 الأجل 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 يا أرحم الراحمين بحق محمد وآله الطاهرين
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد.
Okay, are you gonna read it? Do I hold you?
Pick him up, pick him up, pick him up.
Okay.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala hajjatana al-Hasan sawaduka alayhi wa la abai fi haladasa wa fi kulli wa yanu hasana wa ta'ala والذي وعينا حتى أسلموا فيها طويلا
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وجل فرجه.
Oh Allah, bless Muhammad and the family of Muhammad. Oh Allah, be for your representative, the Hujjat, son of Al-Hasan. Your blessings be upon him and his forefathers in this hour and in every hour, a guardian, a protector, a leader, a helper, a proof, and an eye, until you make him live on the earth in obedience and cause him to live in it for a long time. O one who directs all the affairs, O one who will raise those who are in the graves, O one who will make the rivers flow, O one who softened the iron for Dawood. Bless Muhammad and the family of Muhammad and do for me in this night.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وجل فرجه.
Ya Ali.
نعرہ تکبیر
Allahu Akbar.
نعرہ رسالت
Ya Rasulullah. Ya Ali. Zaret Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alayka ya Abul Fazl Abbas. Assalamu alayka ya Assalamu alaykum. Assalamu alayka ya Abul Fazl Abbas ibn Amir al-Mu'minin. Assalamu alayka ya ibn Sayyid al-Wasiyan. Assalamu alayka ayyuha al-shuhada'i. Assalamu alayka الشهداء مطيع لله ورسوله. السلام عليك أفضل الشهداء. السلام عليك جميع ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وجل زيارة إمام حسين عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا أبا الفضل عباس. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وجل زائد إمام علي بن موسى الرضا عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا قريب الغرباء. السلام عليك يا علي بن موسى الرضا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وجل زائد إمام مهدي عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان. السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. الأمان الأمان الأمان. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.
نعرہ حیدری
يا علي